Hey guys, welcome to another Nurses Outside the Box. We're episode 32 already. And today we have a really special guest. Viola Pierce is here of Viola Pierce Nursing. She's the CNO and founder of that one. And she also has a company called Nurse Nurture. I'm going to let you tell all about it, Viola, but Viola, sorry. My apologies for saying that. But how are you doing? I'm so glad to have you on the show.
I am good. And how are you, Anne-Marie?
I am really good too. It is so exciting to have another nurse entrepreneur on the call. But you have a lot of experience. So why don't we dive in? Tell me, what makes you a nurse outside the box? We'd love to hear what your answer is now.
So my story starts when, way back, I want to say it was 2013. I came into the emergency department, and then when I walked in that particular weekend, I had this kid that came in, and I always say that I like to take care of the matriarchs and the patriarchs of their family because they're super funny, and then the
Right?
kids of the family because between 2 and 6 they're super funny too. So they're the subsets of patients that I like to take care of the most. So I came in this particular weekend, and there was a kid that was between the ages of 2 and 6, and the kid was a fatality due to gunfire.
Oh.
The next weekend I came back, and I had another kid come in, and the kid was a fatality due to gunfire.
Oh.
That next weekend I came back, there was nothing that happened, and I said, thank you, Lord. The next weekend I came back, and there was a kid that was a fatality due to play, because kids don't know that whenever they walk past a body of water, they don't know that if they need the skill of swimming in order to be able to survive. They don't know that whenever they walk past grandma's medicines that there's toxic for their bodies if they ingest it. They don't know that there's a line of demarcation between the yard and the road, and it's called the curb. And if they cross over that line, then their numbers go up exponentially high that they would be killed. So he was for fatality, and then this man who was the patriarch of his family came in, and he had been suffering from a disease process that he had for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he came in, and we tried everything that we could in our power to save him, and the reality is that we couldn't. And so we had this youngest member of the family and the oldest member of the family there, and they were didn't survive their injuries. And I walked out, and I remember looking across the emergency department, because at that time the emergency department was just open, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember looking out over the emergency department and seeing people who were mad. They were mad because they were not first, when they didn't realize that not being first in the emergency room is not like being first in the Ticketmaster line, right?
Right.
And so, and I knew that I was gonna, get blasted when I went into that next room. And so I walked in because of course, we had to find the logistics of just taking care of these two family members, these two families they both had large families. Right. And so I went in with the physician to tell the youngest, the baby's family, that he had passed away. And so I knew that was something that was going to change the trajectory of their lives forever. And that thing, it tore me up. And it was just that whole month. And it was just, and I walked out of that emergency department, and I thought, I don't think I'm going to be back to do this again. And I remember walking to my truck, and when I got to my truck, I toggled to songs because music is my therapy. And I toggled to this song by Kirk Franklin and Toby Mac, and the song said, "Be still and know that I'm God." Right. And the reality is that I knew it was my spiritual foundation that kept me in nursing. Because I realized that I didn't understand what was going on, and it was not for me to understand. It was for it was just for him to do whatever he does, right? And I just needed to trust in him. My spiritual foundation is what kept me going. But I realized that there were things that I didn't have. So the things that I didn't have was the equipping of the finances. Like I still struggled with finances. I still struggled with family. I mean, these things that brings the nurse to the bedside, mindful and taking care of the patient. And I knew that I wasn't taught that in school, right? Mm-hmm. So because I wasn't taught that in school, I knew that I needed that for myself, and I sought it out for myself. But I had to seek out, each of these different pillars of our success. And so, we at VP Nursing, our goal is to equip the healthcare professional to be spiritually and physically fit, financially stable, and able to lead with integrity, to decrease error at the bedside, increase resilience, and live a full, empowered life. And so that is the goal, right? Because you can't come to leadership, you can't come to the bedside, you can't do anything without being able to take care of yourself first.
That is, yeah.
You cannot. I remember when I was going to New Orleans for the first time, my brother was living down there. And my daughter was a year old. She's 23 now, but she was a year old. And I remember that lady coming across the little speaker, and she was like, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And I was like, this lady does not know. She ain't got no idea how much effort I had to put into having this youngin' right here, this child. Okay.
Right.
No idea. No, I'm not putting the oxygen mask on myself first. And then she died. No, that's not happening. But the reality, because she didn't tell me, she didn't help me to understand that if I don't put it on myself first, I cannot put it on my child. My child is left floundering. And so I now understand that. And that's the deal. And so, if leaders in healthcare can understand, if they put the oxygen mask on the healthcare professionals first, then they're able to because you will never touch every patient, but you can touch every healthcare professional that you employ.
I think that's so beautiful. So how long was that journey? Because I'm sure that was not a quick journey, going from that time in the ER to where you are now, right? Because you're a doctorate prepared nurse. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? How long did that take? What was your story there?
So it took a while, and it took a lot of loss. It took a lot of, I got demoted from 2 jobs, just because I didn't know, because I think that people go into being a clinician thinking that they can lead. And that's what I thought. I thought I could lead, just because you're a good clinician. I was a great nurse, but I was not a great leader. And so, and it took getting demoted from the jobs in order for me to understand that once you go into leadership, then it is about it's not about the patient as much anymore, but it's about your staff. Your staff is going to take care of your patient.
Yes.
Your staff is going to take care of your patients. You have to take care of your staff. Yeah. And so, because John Maxwell says that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I had to learn that. And that was one statement that changed my life. And I was like, okay, all right, we can work this out. And so I just slow walked it, went back to school, because at that time I was an associate degree nurse, went back to school and continued my education until I, got to my doctoral level, and did a lot of leadership classes, learned how to really, connect with people, connect with my family, and just really, really learned, walk the walk, right? I failed at it. And I think that when you fail at something, you do much better, because you understand how it is to walk back up that road. Because, and I think that people think failing is failing, but failing is only failing when you don't get back up, right?
Very true. Very true. So true. I love that. So I'm curious, how then did VP nursing, how did that get started? Because that get started at what time and why? I get your passion for nurses, but I'm really curious about specifically how did that get started and why?
So the reason why it got started was because I would go to nursing conferences, and people would talk about, all the speakers would speak to the patient, right? They would speak to how to take care of the patient, right? Right. Never once did I go to a nursing conference, and the nursing conference was about how to take care of your clinicians, how to, as leaders, how to take care of the people that you are leading, how you take care of yourself, how you put the oxygen mask on yourself. Never once. Not only that, I would go to nursing conferences and they would be just like, oh my God, they are boring, you know? Like, I cannot. Like, we have got to change this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, you would go to these business conferences and they would be really fun. You would have such a good time. And I was like, we have got to merge the business world with the nursing world. Okay. And so, like, we just went on the summit and we had an awesome time. It was virtual. And we had an awesome time because the goal was to equip the healthcare provider, but also for them to have a good time,
Right,
right?
right.
And so that's the reason why, because I didn't see it happening. I didn't see anybody doing it. I didn't see anybody coaching in this areas. So I was like, I've gotta. And it was a well-rounded, because you know like, you have financial coaches or you may have business coaches, but understanding that if you hit all these areas, if you do spiritual, family, fitness, finance, spirituality, and leadership, then
Mhm.
you are golden.
Yeah, totally, totally. So tell me a bit about the summit. I'm curious. What was the summit, and tell us a little about it, because that's kind of unique as well, right? In this whole arena that you're doing.
So we just did a summit. It was on Friday. It's called Balanced and Brilliant Healthcare Professionals, and tapping into your greatness.
Mhm.
And so we had 6 dynamic speakers, and that was the goal too, because, if you bring information, if you bring great information, I get it and it's great, but I do much better if you bring it dynamically, right? Because we're on a virtual platform, so we need to be dynamic whenever we
Yes,
do whatever we
yes,
do, right?
yes.
So I was like, if as long as you're dynamic and as long as you have the knowledge base, and they weren't all nurses, they weren't all healthcare professionals. Obviously, I would like for them to be, but I mean, as long as they brought the information in those 5 pillars, and so
Mhm.
it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, everybody loved it, because we did a survey afterwards, and it was just, we had a great time. So we're gonna have
So,
another one next year.
like,
So go to www.vpnursing.com. Go ahead and sign up so that you'll know about it.
beautiful. I love it. I will absolutely get there for next year as well. Is that the best way for people to get in touch with you, by the way? Because I'm sure there's nurses who are listening and like, wow, I want to be in touch with her. So is that the best way? Is there other ways? It's not the way to get in touch with you.
Yeah. So at the bottom of our page, at the bottom of our website, in the lower right hand corner, or you can go to the join the mailing list. It'll pop up as soon as you open up the website. But the website is www.v as in Victor, P as in Paul, like the logo, nursing.com. And you will, once we get connected, you're going to be like, oh my God.
You love excellence. I can see it already. It's like, oh, I love that. I love that. I'm curious, what do you see in the future for yourself and for nursing in general? What are the things you're kind of seeing? I mean, I know you want to do another summit next year, right? And I'm sure you're going to keep on coaching and with people as well. What do you see for nurses, and what do you see for yourself? Love to hear your
So
thoughts.
I'll go first for myself. For
Mhm.
myself, I see me coaching nurses. I just, at the end of the day, I needed what I needed and I couldn't find it anywhere. And so that is the goal. The goal is to coach nurses in life, in order to show up at the bedside, but uniquely how to show up at the bedside, uniquely how to have that emotional intelligence, uniquely how to decrease compassion fatigue and burnout,
Mhm.
uniquely those things, because other people may not deal with those same things, right? And so coaching, also I do business coaching also for the nurse who is going into business as a nurse.
Mhm.
So those 2 subsets. We will also do the business summit. I mean the nursing summit again. We once COVID kind of you know tempers down, then we'll do it in live conference. But as of now, we will continue on the virtual platform. And then and also training. I can do training for healthcare organizations for their nurses, to equip their nurses. So that is where, and then eventually, and the whole vision also is to get scholarships. We want to, because another part of VP nursing, like the not-for-profit sector, is the nurse nurturer. And so that the goal in that is to for us to give out scholarships to healthcare professionals who are coming into the business. So that's kind of the big vision right now, where we're going towards. But yeah, if you would like to have just a 1-hour phone call with me, we'll put the link in the description. And as far as nursing is concerned, I think that nursing is probably in a little bit of trouble right now, in my opinion. Because of the fact that, we were facing a nursing shortage by 2026 anyway. And the fact that there are many nurses who don't necessarily want to be at the bedside any longer, and really, really understanding what you can stand for, and what having a voice in nursing, right? Having a voice in saying, this is not right. We're not necessarily taught, like I wouldn't, and I don't know whether maybe other nursing schools have taught this, but I'm speaking from my own experience, right? So I wasn't taught that, if a patient came up and a patient assaulted me, that was not acceptable. I was not taught that. I was not taught that, you have a voice and you need to voice it, and you need to be, you need to say that this is not what I'm going to accept as a healthcare professional, right? I was not taught that, how to deal with your first death. I was not taught how to deal with your fifth death. And I was not taught how to deal with nurse incivility. I was not taught those things, right? And because I was not taught those things, that is some of the things that I'm thinking that probably the nurses are not able to deal with at this point, right? And so, my goal is to help the healthcare professional in that. So, because you want to create that resilience so that the nurse will continue to stay at the bedside, right? Because we need nurses at the bedside.
Yeah, no, totally. I think we need nurses' voices everywhere, right? As entrepreneurs, as business owners, but also at the bedside, and I mean all across the board, and in hospitals, in governing places as well. We need nurses.
That's right. Because that's where you see the most difference, right? And I never really thought about that until I really, went in depth to the story of Florence Nightingale. I was like, well, that's how she made all that change. She did a little bit. All right.
Yes, she did.
She was kind of friends with that guy.
Oh, I love it. I love this interview, by the way. I got to tell you guys, if for anybody's listening, please share this, right? Please share this to another nurse who needs to hear this. I love your attitude. I love what you're doing for nurses, because you're doing it on a one-on-one scale, but also on with the summit on a much bigger scale. So I think I'm curious what the next years ahead will bring for you. I kind of curious as we're wrapping up this interview today, right? And guys, please go to vpnursing.com, because that's the site, of course, to go to for Viola. But what is it that you would recommend to nurses who are listening right now? What is it, one tip that they could walk away with today? You want to talk towards that?
I would recommend that there is, if you stay in the game, if you stay in nursing, it will bring more reward than you can imagine. I can't tell you the number of patients that I have personally been a part of their care, that I'm proud to have been a part of their care. And you have to get to the point where you master your breaking point. And so the issue is that you're gonna break. We all do. right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether it is in life, whether it is in your finances, you know, maybe not in your finance, maybe some people just got it better than I do, but you know, but you know, at some point, there's some area of your life that you may break. The breaking is just a remolding you back to where you need to be. And if you get to that breaking point and you say, okay, I need to create this resilience in order to keep me going, then I promise you it will be more rewarding than anything you have ever done. When you see a child, when you see an adult, whoever, your patient survived because you stayed in the game. That is where it is at for nursing.
I'm going to end with that. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
You
And yes, you're beautiful. So I love your work. So guys, please make an appointment with this beautiful lady. And we'll see you soon in another episode of Nurse Outside the Box. Thank you, Viola. It was beautiful.
Thank you.